What it do, Mr. Wickliffe? Look, man, we are live. Are you ready to do this, brother?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
Ktteev, giving you what you need. Motivation, education unleashed. H-Town representing, we forever keep it rolling. Join the conversation with inspirational stories. Thought-provoking, feel that energy. Kendrick Thomas aiming to lift the community. True indeed, tune in, come and see. Giving you what you need. Ktteev, let's go. Ktteev.
What it do, KTTV? This is KT, and you are tuned in to another episode. Now, I have on today's show the former super producer and the current principal of Crossroads and DAEP ISD, Mr. Tremayne Wickliffe. How you doing tonight, brother?
Doing well, doing well. First and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to my beautiful wife, Crystal, and my lovely kids, Olivia and Addison. And what's up to my mom and dad? And then after that, everybody else, how you doing? I'm feeling great. Glad to be here.
It is. I appreciate you for taking some time out of the break, brother. We are on vacation, and I do know how real it is to get that time. So, man, I just want to say thank you for taking a few minutes out to just talk about our passion tonight.
Okay, no problem.
Yes, sir. So before we do that, I always like to jump into a wellness check because we know it's been crazy out here these last few years. So, brother, how are you doing? And if you could sum the school year up in one word, what would it be?
Roller coaster.
Hey, that's it, man. So, what's your main reason for that?
Because anytime you're in education, there's ups and downs, and sometimes it's fast, and sometimes it's slow. And in addition to that, you never know where the winding tracks will take you.
Hey, I agree with that so much, man. Because just being able to get in, you go through where it was no staff, then you start to get a few people back in the building. You finally start to get some subs. But then that COVID may just come back and hit you again. Some people are fortunate, some people are not. But that staff is still a struggle, man. So I understand where you're coming from, brother. So one big part of tonight that I was looking forward to was just talking about the work we do and how our backgrounds help us relate to the students we serve. So knowing that you didn't just fall into leadership at a place like Crossroads, as you use your background or your previous experiences as a tool in the toolbox, how did you kind of matriculate into the person that you are and the leader that you are today with the students we serve?
Well, for me, I've never had a true mentor. But I call it what I would say observation mentorship. So just because I didn't have a mentor per se, but there's a lot of great people that I followed just by looking at the way they carried themselves. Actually, Dr. Walter Jackson, Joyce Eddings, David Holmquist, Vicky Shoppy, Gina Tomas. There's so many leaders that I followed just by looking at how they actually lead their offices, campuses, and the district as well. There's countless others, but, Dr. Creer, but there's a lot of people out there that, I just watch. And I've taken some things from how they lead, and I put it into my bag of tricks, and I use them. And in addition to that as well, I got to give a big shout out to my wife. I look at her and the way she carries herself, and she helps me stay grounded. She'll tell me in a minute, don't bring the principal stuff home. You're Tremayne Wickliffe at home, principal out there. But again, I've basically built my leadership on the backs of the leaders before me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one thing. That's one of the questions I had for you. As a person who does not too much have that team. You got the team that you put together, but not your assigned APs. Like, how do you not bring that home and you find that time for that mental space or that family space?
I think that has a lot to do with a good partner. In addition to that, healthy, I won't say healthy habits because I don't eat healthy. So I love to indulge in all things sweet and all things spicy. But finding hobbies and outlets, I love listening to music. I love watching movies and TV shows with my wife and just reading up on conspiracy theories and things of that nature. So the bottom line is this, just having healthy outlets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that keeps me grounded. And rest, lots of rest, lots of sleep.
Ooh, look, man, that rest is something real. But like you say, just simply taking the time out to even just veg on the couch, right, and do nothing.
That's important.
Man, you're thankful for those days. So jumping a little deeper into our conversation, and just keeping it with our background, keeping it with the young men we serve. So research finds that juveniles who are repeatedly taken out of the educational environment, whether that's suspension or expulsion, have a greater likelihood of jail or prison. Hence our school to prison pipeline. As a veteran, how do you equip your staff with the tools to not only educate those young men, but to conquer their recidivism that we see in our students?
Well, for me, it just comes from my mindset. And anyone that works for me knows that, I'm Joe Clark. I'm, all of that. So you have to follow my lead. And I have a strong background with working with at-risk youth. I'm one myself. I grew up in Ridgemont, Missouri City, went to Missouri City, Willow Ridge. And so I've dealt with all the hardships of being an adolescent myself. And so when I got an opportunity to work at Hastings, those particular kids tend to gravitate to me, and I identify with them. And if you just listen and talk to them, you'll understand where they come from. And so being in the business for quite a while, you get to see the same stories, but different faces. And so what I instill in my staff, just like the great phrase from Chase, the right relationship is everything. Everything starts with a conversation, and I feel like because we're such small campuses, ALC, Crossroads, we get an opportunity to actually sit down and talk to these kids and figure out what is the main issue, what are the things that we can't necessarily correct, but how can we modify the behavior or tell them to think a little bit before they react. And I think that's something we all, even myself, sometimes I tend to fly off at the hat real quick. So I have to think. And, it's, even though it's hard for me to do, it's easier for me to tell other students to say, hey, count to 3 before you say something, choose peace before violence. And so, again, for me, I feel like it's all about the communication with those kids.
And how do you find time to kind of push, because like you say, you always have your frequent flyers, the kids who really crave that attention right in the building. So, but you at the same time too are the only administrator. So how do you make time to pour into those kids with it not being it may be a negative interaction?
You have to do it. And so for me, because I have to spend a lot of time in the classroom, instead of just looking at the teacher, I'm actually looking at the kids. I'm looking at what they're doing, how they are processing, what type of achievement are they, acquiring in that particular classroom. And I talk to them from, hey, nice haircut to nice tennis shoes, or your handwriting is great, or at lunch, why don't you eat your peas? I see you doubling up on chicken tenders. What's your top 5 rapper?
Come on now.
What'd you learn today? So I think just building those conversations with those kids daily, not just one-offs, but it's something you have to do on a daily basis. And eventually, when you fall off, they'll follow you. They'll look for you.
Yeah, there we go. And now the thing about that is, as we talk about recidivism and our kids who are the repeat offenders, we thinking about the other side of that, and some of those kids, maybe was it really an expulsion type of situation, right? Or how quick are you quick to do this for the African American kid or Hispanic kid versus their peers? And so, as a person who works with that population, have been doing it for so long, I know you have those conversations amongst the peers, man. And so, when you're thinking about the amount of removals for one race versus the other, how have you worked with other principals to combat that on main campus?
So that was actually a big conversation we had in our spec ed meeting on talking about student removals. And I have to give it up to Dr. Armwood and Mr. Tarek Ahmed. Those guys that work at the ASF building are doing a great job of working with our student code of conduct and trying to really look at some of those infractions that are level 1, level 2, and even look at some of those level 3s and see what can we actually do different than a suspension or a sack. And so I think that was important for them. But also, I went back and I made a spreadsheet and came up with some ideas of some alternatives, and I submitted that to the district. And so we'll see where we go with that. So obviously, we're in transition, looking for a new superintendent. We do have the amazing Gina Tomas with us so far, but we'll see what happens when it comes to how we'll address that in the future. But for the most part, A-Leaf is doing a great job of not suspending unless we have to. Like I know, a suspension is a vacation. They're going to stay home.
Yeah.
They're going to sleep, or they're going to hit the streets and get in trouble. So the more time we can keep them in school, the better.
Hey,
now,
man,
obviously, there's going to be some level 4, level 5 offenses that there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
But I believe the 3s, 2s, and 1s, there may be some type of wiggle room, and we try to wiggle as much as we can.
And now, if you don't mind, and I don't know if you can, but what are some of those interventions when you're thinking about, new administrators, new people who can just take tidbits? What are some of those interventions that you would recommend for them? Uh-oh, I think we got to freeze, y'all. Y'all know how it goes down. Okay, there we go.
I believe you froze up for a second. So you said interventions for new administrators.
Yeah, so when you think about some of those interventions that you submitted to the district, can you give us a few of them off the list and kind of explain a little bit about them?
Sure. So keep in mind, even if you have an office timeout, that's considered a removal. So whether it's in your office or a sack, that's still a removal. It's still pretty much like a suspension. So for me, you have to really think about your campus and what are the needs of your campus. Do you have a book room? Do you have a tech closet? Do you have computers that need asset tags put on them? What are some different things that you can do? A book study, believe it or not. I know you guys at the ALC are big on circles. So there's all types of things you can do. Conferences where they're actually collegiate, where we can actually start talking about the future, whether it's not only in college or maybe some type of post-secondary situation, maybe the armed forces or getting a trade or things of that nature. Actually talking to them about that, maybe looking at their transcripts. So instead of just being a punitive time where they're in an office or in SAC, use that particular time to either do some community service on the campus that's going to help the campus with sorting out laptops because of the one-to-one, or rearranging the library, or basically talking about their future, looking at the transcript, looking at their current grades, pairing them with their social worker, trying to find a job or things of that nature. So those are the things that I do, and countless more. But I think just having a good use of time is important. Now, not everyone could do that. Again, you have to understand we're a small campus. When you work in a comprehensive campus like Elsik, Hastings, or Taylor, when you have a caseload of maybe 600 to 700 kids, that's not ideal. And so that's when you're gonna have to utilize your counselors and your CIS and with other people. And then for those frequent flyers, those are some things you definitely want to, do with them because they're going to need it the most.
When you think about leaning on the staff, so coming in, man, coming from Hastings, right? You got this full team. You get the Crossroads. Did you have to go through the process of learning how to lean on your staff to create those results?
Yeah. And it's called other duties as assigned. So, when you work at a small campus like, ALC or Crossroads, you don't have the autonomy to do one job.
Yeah.
So, like I know, being an assistant principal, you're the custodian, you're the counselor. Sometimes the counselor's out. You have to be the counselor. Sometimes the registrar's out. And you have to be the register. Sometimes you might be in a classroom. Sometimes you have to do all things. Yeah. And so I let my teachers know, hey, this is just not one teaching gig. I mean, there's other things that, you have to do or may be required to do due to the limited staff. But the big charge that we have to do every day. So, and you have to be upfront, because if you're not upfront about this, you're gonna have some teachers that are upset, or they're gonna feel like they got the whole bait and switch. And so again, being upfront when you interview people, let them know that you're gonna have to multitask and you may have alternate duties.
Yeah, I feel like that. That's the same thing we do. Like you said, just being upfront, because in that small school, you do have to switch those roles, and you got to be ready. You got to be ready anytime. I was, my secretary was out the other day. It was real.
Yeah,
man. So, but when we think about that education of the removal, so we talk about ALEAF, and I agree with you that you feel we're doing good as a district. But when you're thinking about outside of other places, man, who needs to be educated on that type of stuff, and where do you think the conversations should start when we're thinking about districts outside of ALEAF?
I think the conversations need to continue and start in Austin with SBEC and TEA and some of the folks that make policy. I believe that all the neighboring districts, your Katie's, your Cy-Fairs, your Springs, HISD, ALEAF, we do the best we can do based on what's given to us. And so a lot of times some folks that are in Austin are kind of out of touch with what's going on, or they may feel like there's a cookie cutter way of, running schools, which doesn't work for Jack Yates, which doesn't work for Sienna, which doesn't work for Cinco, which doesn't work for ALEAF. You can't line all those schools together and say, hey, this is how we're going to run things. So there needs to be more meaningful conversations. And I believe that, Raise Your Hand Texas is doing a great job of actually poking the bear and showing people how the sausage is actually made. So, schools aren't just thrown up and we just teach kids the same way. But I think the conversations are happening. I feel like there's a lot of people that live in these communities that aren't in tune or aware of what's going on in Austin. And, when you just see, when it's time to vote, you just D's and R's. And so no one's really paying attention to who's for education, who's not, and even at the local level. So I don't know. Yeah. I think that's where the conversation starts.
How and that community piece is very important, right? Thinking about voting for the interest of not only the worker in the community, but the interest of your kids and directing education and politics. So do you or are you a part of any boards that is kind of working outside of the district into the communities, just kind of setting up students for success? Then we got another freeze. All right, there you go, brother. Can you hear me?
I'm back. Yes, we are back.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. But do you are you a part of any boards or any organizations that is doing the work of like a Raise Your Hand Texas to inform maybe the community members of ALEAF?
So as far as boards are concerned, I was part of an organization called the Platform Youth. And then I also worked with Higher Dimension Church, and we did a lot of things in the past. But when you're on boards, you're actually following somebody else's dream. Yeah. And I'm definitely not a dreamer; I'm a doer. Yeah. And so when you're following somebody else's program, you tend to have to do what they're trying to accomplish. And so I stay away from boards and I kind of do my own thing. I'm kind of a rogue in which, I've created my own program called The Bench. And what it is a business cohort, which we've been doing at Crossroads probably the last 6 to 7 years. And it's pretty much what I call a business institute, where I actually stole the idea from Rice Urban League, Rice REAP, for their master program. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring it to ALEAF for my kids to show them, hey, there's other means and measures of acquiring employment other than trying to be a basketball star a rapper, an entertainer, or anything that those are dreams. And there's nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with being a rapper. There's nothing wrong with being a football player. There's nothing wrong with being a basketball player. But if we know statistically, there's only so many seats in the league. There's only so many seats in the NBA. There's only so many seats, on a soccer club. Not that many rappers make it, not that many people make it to Hollywood. However,
All right, y'all. We're going all hard for internet today. We'll see
that's
if we.
okay.
There
So
we go.
there's 1,000,005 jobs with the NFL, NBA, record labels, soccer clubs, like hospitality, marketing, business, finance, HR. And so what I do is I make 1,000,005 phone calls, and I try to pair 10 amazing kids from my school to meet up with some of the GMs or CEOs of some of these major companies. And I was able to take 10 kids to Mountain View to go to Facebook, YouTube, and it was Facebook, YouTube, and another company. So I got an opportunity to meet with everybody in all the different divisions. We paired up with the Rockets, and so they didn't get a chance to meet the players, but they got a chance to talk to the entertainment people, the marketing people, the art directors, the people in sales, and these kids got an opportunity to actually work the game. So you had one person who worked with entertainment. So what they did was they walked around with the cheerleaders, and they got the music cued and met with the DJs, and they were on the floor. Then I had another group who worked with marketing, and they walked around with the marketing team and made sure all the kiosks were working and that all that proper advertisement was scrolling as normal during the game. Then I had one group that was in sales, and they actually was selling memorabilia, and jerseys and things that were signed for like $300, $400, $600, to some of the hardcore fans. So they worked throughout a game day, and then in addition to that, they actually got an opportunity to watch the game at halftime in a suite, and they got a chance to eat all the chicken tenders.
Come on, man. That's it. Hold up, wait a minute. Okay.
Mr. Brian Ching, who was the star athlete for the Dynamos, who's now the club owner for the Dash, came by the school. He's an icon in the soccer world. Played soccer with my kids, gave everybody Adidas cleats. We're able to take the kids and see, the locker room, and it was a heartbreak for them because they said, "Hey, since the Dynamo."
All right, them internets tonight is not playing with us, man.
One kid since the Dynamos.
Yeah.
However, there's so many other jobs associated, and that's what they wanted to let them know that, hey, you can work here, you can work here, and you can work there. And so that was a wonderful thing for the kids to get that experience. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, we did the Marriott Marquee as well, where we were able to take our kids, and they got a chance to meet the CFO. They got an opportunity to go to the bakery, the marketing, and so they got an opportunity to really just see the ins and outs of these companies. And so we try to do it every year to get these kids. We've done Citco, we've done Paul Mitchell, we've done 1,000,005 businesses. So that's one thing that we do besides universities.
Yeah, exposure is the key, man. So great to hear all the work that you're doing. I want to say I interviewed when Hungry Howie had the restaurant, and so
he made Hungry Howie, and they made pizzas and all of that.
Yeah. So we talked about that, man, especially about that work with Coach Miller. He'll be on in a few weeks, man. Just been
Coach
talking
Miller
about
is a A-Leaf icon. He is the man,
the guy.
He is that guy.
But also another connection is with Garfield. So Garfield had the program called Artists and Scholars, and so me and him was working over at Hicks before I came over to LC. And so when I found out he was working with you, I said, "Come on, man, that was something to have Garfield in the building, man.
I've assembled a dream team over at Crossroads. Mr. Bright, he's actually not Mr. Bright, Dr. Bright.
Dr. Bright.
He's a PhD. Arthur, lead singer of the multi-platinum group. Excuse me, Shy. Smart guy.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, man. So brother's deep too, man.
He's very deep.
So anytime we get a chance to talk, it's just still about pouring into the young man, background, exposure, whatever we can do to kind of push that forward. I think about I just had to get it out for me just working with a kid the other day and being able to kind of show him, talk about stocks. He like, man, I want to sell dope. I got $500 saved up. I'm like, come on, man. It got to be a better way, but who shows them a different way besides when we take time like that?
Well, unfortunately, the biggest influence comes from their friends.
Yeah.
And so, we just got to change the narrative. I'm actually, in my old age, I'm starting to become more like C. Dolores Tucker when I believe in censorship. There's so much poison that's being broadcast to the students in the form of drill and gangster rap. And these shows, P-Valley and, Black Mafia Life and anything that's associated with drug dealing and gangster this and that and this and that. And so, and my family, we don't even watch those shows. I feel like there's other narratives that could be told. We've always had, the Cosby Show, Chico and the Man.
Yeah.
We've had A Different World. Things that broadcast a different light.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, for minorities. So I feel like we need to be very careful on what we give to our kids in the form of media.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Most definitely.
That's important.
We don't. Because they are picking it up and they are acting on it too, and so it was just so much being able to talk to that parent. But yeah, if we don't do something, they gonna lose it because everybody want to be a shooter.
Yeah, there's a guy named he's actually assistant principal. His name is Vernon Thompson,
mm-hmm.
and he says, all kids see is rich thugs and poor graduates.
Man.
He said, we'll never be able to change, the narrative until we start seeing, at least middle-class educators and poor criminals.
Yeah.
Because that's all they see.
Yeah.
On the internet, what do you see? Everybody drives a Maybach. Everybody has a Rolls Royce. Everybody has, 1,000 gold chains and live in an apartment.
Yeah.
It's a false narrative.
Yeah, man. Yeah, some of them, as the new rappers come in, they're being more vocal. And so that's what I like. They're starting to say it more of it's a facade, it's entertainment, but still people hear what they want to hear.
They hear what they want to hear.
Man, that's it. So thinking about now just the work you do as the DAEP leader and working with people that you're mentoring. I know you're working with us at ALC. But I'm pretty sure other people.
Shout out to Mindy Robinson.
Hey, big shout out. Big shout out to Miss Robinson. No, she stay in the game, man. She said she was gonna be tuned in. But as I get this role, first week on the job, you are now signed to the mentor. What would you tell me as a new leader coming into a role like a DAEP?
Number one, do whatever your principal says. Number one, first and foremost, keep Ms. Robinson happy.
Hey.
She's an OG in the game. She has the blueprint. I know you may know what you know, but you got to follow the queen.
Got to.
Got to follow the queen.
There it is, man.
Number two, listen.
Mm-hmm.
Do more listening than talking.
Yeah.
And that's an oxymoron coming from me because I do a lot of talking. But listen. I guarantee if you just listen, you can get to the bottom of any problem.
Mm-hmm. Come on, man. That's it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Know what you say? You had another one?
Yeah, also, back to Chase.
Yeah.
Even though they hit us hard with those fees, but they say the right relationship is everything.
Come on,
And
man.
so building a professional relationship with your students and staff is important.
Yeah.
Now, you're never going to be the good guy. Never. You're never going to be loved by everybody. You know, Mr. Chambers told me, hey, if you're not making somebody mad, you're not doing your job.
Okay.
You know, so, I mean, not everybody's going to agree on every decision you make, but you have to make the best decision for the whole school.
Yeah. Now, I will flip that same question on you. And let's say it's not an assistant principal, but I'm coming in as the principal with no team, besides, like you say, the team that I build around me, but no administrative team. What are some of the pitfalls that you learned about coming into a situation like yours?
Well, number one, are you new or are you
New.
Brand new, straight
New.
from being assistant principal?
Yes, sir.
In the same building?
No, in a role like yours in DAEP.
Okay. Well, for me, I actually got to create my school, so it's a little different.
Okay.
But if I was coming into a building, the first thing that I would do is get a chance to learn the climate and the culture of the campus. So you're coming in, you're the outsider, and you have to understand, you know, one principal, one person doesn't make a school. Like if your whole school is built around you, you're doing everything wrong. You're Yeah, we're buffering a little bit, but you got to listen. You have to get an understanding of.
But the internet is crazy tonight. I don't know if it's me down here on location.
Because not every organization is perfect.
Yeah.
But you don't want to come in and you don't want to just like just snatch the rug out of everybody's feet.
Yeah.
You got to come in and just, you know, observe and make gradual changes.
Yeah, my boy Dr. Snow came in. He said the first thing he did was came in and just asked everybody if they could snap their fingers and change one thing, what would it be? And so he said he was able to work with teachers and create small wins off of some of those very conversations that he had, which kind of set the tone as he came in as the new administrator, new principal in the building. So definitely a strategy to coming in, but culture is first. You know, that's why I shout out to Ms. Robinson. As it gets hard, you know, with behavior, it can get trying. It's just so many things that she's doing to kind of keep us in those peaks and taking care of us during these peaks to where those valleys come. We got things to fall back on. So big shouts out to her for that. I love that and being a part of that, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's so important because, believe it or not, teachers get tired fast. Mm-hmm. You know, and rightfully so, is because there's so much accountability. There's so many things that they have to do. They probably do less teaching than planning. You know, and so there's just a lot on their plates right now. And so, you know, big ups to anybody that's a teacher, that is a teacher. If I could snap my fingers and give everybody teacher incentive allotment, I'd give everybody 30, 40 grand. Yeah, you know, because you guys deserve it. And that would make all the problems go away. But I feel like everybody's working hard. I don't really know one teacher that's not working hard. I think everybody is consciously trying to do their best. Yeah.
Now, you know, I had to do this before we get out of there. When we think about people snapping their fingers and processes are better. As an OG in the game, probably more behind you than in front of you at this point. As you look at the future of DAEPs and the way the enrollment is handled, the way the selection is handled when kids are being sent, we talked about the numbers earlier. What is one thing that you would focus on changing that would be like the legacy to say, Tremayne changed this?
If I could change anything, I would give ALC and Crossroads more teacher units and more funding that's not based on pupil person ratio. I feel like, you know, we do the best we can do, but you know, like I know, it's impossible to have the greatest achievement in the classroom when you're trying to mix algebra with MMA and multiple preps. And so I get it. You know, it takes a big commitment from any district. And I applaud all districts that are hosting DAEPs because it is a large amount of money, large amount of funding for such a small group of kids and staff members. So big ups to all the superintendents in the Region 4 area and above that are committed to the DAEPs. But I think more funding or at least more units. So, we can spread out some of those classes and have more effective instruction. And then also, just a little bit more money so we can, just have a little bit more resources.
Man, I just think about 6 months ago, how that statement wouldn't have impacted me as much as it does today, right? And being able to live inside of what you're talking about versus being on that main campus and saying, oh, I wonder what that looks like.
Right.
Man, that was if it was ever one thing, trust me, from the inside, that's it right there, brother. So yeah, we need to go and make that one happen. Somebody.
Miss Thomas, you hear me?
Hey, for real.
Hook us up.
So man, what's next for you? What's next for the school of Crossroads?
Well, obviously, we're always working on, assessment data, trying to improve these scores, just trying to make sure our kids are coming to school. Like I know our kids tend not to want to come to school. So we create programs and specialty events to have a consistent group of kids to come to school daily. Yes. So we can hit them with the instruction daily so we can get some real good data. Yeah, it's kind of hard to have collective data when you have kids who don't come to school all the time, and then you're expected to give them the CBAs and they don't do well for whatever reason, and no one can say, well, we're going to plug this kid out and plug this kid out of the data and our score is going to go up. Your scores are what they are. And so, again, I think we've been doing very well trying to get our kids in school, and that's working. So that's the concentration right now moving forward for us is pounding the pavement and hitting them hard with a lot of reading, a lot of purposeful writing, the math, concepts. Yeah. Just trying to hit them hard instructionally. Grinding it out, brother. Consistently and instructionally. And for me to be somebody who's at a DAEP, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about discipline. I'm not going to lie to you, They're not necessarily walking to the right, but I am concerned what they're doing inside that math classroom. And I am concerned what the math teachers are doing to engage those kids, not only just the math, the English, social studies, science, all my staff members. So I spent a lot of time concentrating on the instruction. Yeah. And if you concentrate on the instruction, all that other stuff is gonna fall in place. Yeah, people are engaged. That doesn't mean we don't ignore it. Mm-hmm. We definitely monitor that, as far as that little stuff is, as far as the classroom's concerned. I'm sorry, the hallways. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we really are sticklers on the instruction. Yeah, that's it, brother. Well, look, man, from our last few minutes here, we've been buffering a lot. That sounds like it's God telling me that we need to go and enjoy this vacation. That's right. So, man, as we wrap up, man, anything that you want to give for some lasting words, man, maybe to new administrators, to old administrators, or even main campus administrators when they referring kids to our system here, man, what last words can you leave me with? Choose wisely. Hey, choose wisely, because not every kid needs to go to a DAEP. There's a lot of things that could be done on the home campus. There's a lot of structures in place at the home campus that can really curb behavior. But in addition to that, choose wisely. There's definitely kids that definitely need to be at the ALC. There's kids that definitely need to be at Crossroads. And there's some kids that definitely don't need to be at either one. And so I always say, think logically, not with your emotions, not what they did to you or, what was said or whatever, but really think, is this the right thing to do? So
That's it.
again, we're going to take care of every kid that come to ALC or Crossroads, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we get the right kids in so we can service them properly. It's not about packing a house. We can pack ALC and we can pack Crossroads. We can do it, definitely. We know how to do it. And we can run it. But if they want to be serviced properly, if you want those kids to really get the proper attention that they need, you need to send the right students and not pack the houses. And that's not saying, there's pushback. We don't want them. But at the same time, I've seen some kids come and I'm like, you came for that?
Yeah.
So just choose wisely. And again, I'm going to say hats off to Dr. Arnwood and Mr. Tarek Hamed. They're doing a good job of filtering and screening and making sure that the right kids are going to ALC and the right kids are going to Crossroads. And so we got to give those guys a big shout out because they are unsung heroes in the background that don't really get a lot of, applause. They don't get their roses. Yeah,
there we go, man. I appreciate that, man. Great words. Great clip. Get people to think about that for real. We need that. All right, man. I sure appreciate you taking some time out, like I say, of the break to come through and drop all this information. And I look forward to sharing everything we talked about with the audience and getting this out, man, because great information needs to be heard, brother. So thank you for taking that time.
All right. So big ups to A-Leaf ISD, the Crossroads family, the ALC family, my wife, my kids, my mom, my dad, my brother, all of that. So
that's it, man.
Miss Robinson.
Hey, no shit in the bill.
Joyce Eddings.
Hey.
Everybody.
All right, y'all. Hold up. Oh, yeah, Dr. Page. No, she probably somewhere on the island.
Oh, yeah.
Hey. All right, man. That'll do it, y'all. This is Ktteev for KTTV signing out.
All right.
100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
KTTV.
KT